Yes. Okay,
Live streaming.
okay,
is on.
so that one is approved and it will now go to city council.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, will it come back for us for a public hearing, you
That
think?
was our public hearing.
That was our public
Yep, and we
hearing, all right.
received no comments.
Okay, all right. Okay, what's next on our agenda?
So I've got a handful of staff updates, just to let you guys know, I'm gonna kind of hold off on number one, the comprehensive plan update. These other items are some of this stuff is coming your way, and some of it's just to give you insight to what's been happening here at City Hall. So number two is marsh signage, and I don't know if you guys remember, but in late 2018, when we passed the revised sign ordinance, we put a little clause in there that any non-conforming signs would have to be coming into compliance before January of 2019. That sign ordinance carried forward a provision in our old ordinance that there can be no signs in the marsh. It also codified what had been an informal practice that we did not allow off-premise commercial signs. So right after we passed that ordinance, someone driving onto the beach looked over to their right, saw Bowen's Island, Island Harbor Charters, Charleston Outdoor Adventures, and said, wait a minute, here are 3 signs in the marsh off premises. What are we gonna do about it? We started talking about it. Are they historic? How long have they been there? Should we grant them a special exception? Should we offer to put them on the city-owned land at the corner of Bowman's Island and Ponder Road? Those discussions were happening, and then the moratorium hit. And we all know what happened after that. We spent the next year working on moratorium things. We forgot all about the signs in the marsh. Technically, those signs are now in violation of our code. They should have been removed a year and 5 months ago, but we never got around to coming up with a plan to offer the folks who own the signs, or even if we want to offer them a plan, maybe we just write them a letter and say, hey, your signs don't meet this code anymore, take them down. Someone was riding onto the beach a couple weeks ago, looked over to the right, saw those signs and said, hey, we were supposed to deal with that. And we didn't. So next Tuesday, I'm going to have the same conversation with City Council. I'm going to ask them if they're interested in either creating an exemption for those signs, coming up with some sort of accommodation, or if they want us to just move forward with having them removed. If they do come up with an ordinance exemption, that will have to come back to you guys for a public hearing.
Because our basic position was that they should be removed.
Right.
And that's what has gone forward. And now we're back to city council deciding whether that goes forward or not.
Right.
Okay.
It comes back to us,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
and I'm against the
Have we-
signs. so
Have we talked to these property owners to see if they'll do this voluntarily?
We've had some preliminary discussions with them, with Bowen's Island a year ago, with the Charleston Outdoor Adventures more recently when we made them move a newer sign. And we just put them on notice. Hey, these are in a gray area. We're gonna come back to you with a decision from City Council next month.
So they've been made aware that they may have to move their signs. Got it. Okay.
Why don't we ask them if they'll do it?
Well, at least one of them has signaled that they are not inclined to voluntarily move their sign.
Okay.
So that's gonna come soon to you guys.
That will come back to us from city council in the form of an ordinance.
So if City Council says, a week from Tuesday, if City Council comes down and says, hey, signs have to go, then we're done with it. If City Council comes back and says, we believe that the Bowman's Island sign, which has been there since 1982, is historic and should be allowed to stay, those sort of legislative exemption will have to come back to you guys for a public hearing, because will have to be written into the ordinance. We've done some Google Street Viewing, kind of get relative ages of the signs. So we'll just see where City Council leaves it.
Okay. So that's now in city council's hand. Will come back to us if they take action.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
And then number 4 is lot merger.
Darren,
Yes, sir.
it's maybe a silly question, but
Do we have jurisdiction over the marsh? I thought
That
we
marsh-
ended at the tall grass.
The marsh is in the city of Folly Beach. At least one of the signs is very clearly in the marsh. It's in our corporate jurisdiction, and we have zoned it, and we do have zoning rules. So we can require signs to be removed. The Bowens Island sign, interestingly enough, if you go and look at the vegetation, it's possible that it's on high ground. I can't, is it outside? The yellow flowers with the silver leaves that grow on the edge of the marsh,
Yeah.
that are used to determine where the marsh ends.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
Bowens Island sign, could be on high ground.
And if it's on high ground, does it belong to Bowen's Island? Who does it belong to?
It does not belong to the owners of Bowens Island Restaurant, and it's in the right of way of Bowens Island Road, we believe. We don't have all these things settled with a survey yet, but even if it's not in the marsh, it's an off-premise commercial sign, which is now illegal.
Okay, so that
And when you
also
say
is
off-
with city council and coming back to us. Got it.
So when you say off premise, Bowens Island, meaning the Bowens Island restaurant,
Right.
it's off their immediate premise.
Right,
And
that's
that's
what-
okay.
Same with the kayak company and the island hopper boat charter, and that's just a phone number, but it's still a commercial sign.
Okay, so that'll be coming back to us. Okay, we skipped the paid parking, or we're gonna
We're
consider,
gonna,
Okay.
start with number 4, a lot merger clarifications.
okay,
One of the things we did in the moratorium is we made a slight amendment to our lot merger ordinance. Previously, our zoning ordinance said that any two lots that were shared a frontage and were under the same ownership and were non-conforming or substandard size, we view those as one lot. So if you've got two substandard lots that don't meet minimum lot requirements, and they're beside each other, and the same person owns them, our zoning ordinance considers those one lot. In the moratorium, we amended that to say that there's any two substandard lots that were contiguous. So not necessarily they fronted the same street or shared a street frontage, but if they shared a property line, and they were both too small, under the same ownership, we view those as one lot. Since the moratorium passed, we've been working to go back and review these things and make sure we actually captured our intent. And we're gonna be proposing to council next week another ordinance that will come back to you guys to further clarify that lot merger ordinance and say that it only applies when two lots are adjacent, substandard, under the same ownership, and border the critical area or the baseline. So that it only applies to lots on the beach or the marsh. What happened is we realized that we had unintentionally caught half lots in the middle of the island. The whole point of that regulation was to protect environmentally sensitive areas. We've got some adjacent half lots in the middle of the island that aren't anywhere near the critical area. No harm to the marsh or the beach or anything, but we've caught them up by that lot merger ordinance. So we want to make sure that we're not catching those lots and that we're only catching lots in the marsh or the beach. So that's going to city council next Tuesday, and we'll come back to you guys for a public hearing, probably in September.
okay, I can see the east end of the beach, okay, and you got your A, B lots all the way down there. Most of those have different owners. The B lot is owned by a different lot than the A lot. What happens to those? Because those oceanside B lots or no longer have the 140 feet. They have the 60, but they don't have the 140 feet. But they're two different owners. So only the owners that are contiguous
Right,
properties?
so it's
Okay.
it's always been, all versions hinge on the same ownership.
Got it, okay,
If the lots were under different ownership at the time the ordinance passed, they're not considered merged.
Got okay.
So it's only going to apply to lots that are smaller than minimum size, beside each other, on a critical area, and under the same ownership. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, it makes sense. I can see where you're gonna create some problems, but, you know, that's what
It's
we're
already
doing with that.
enforced on all lots.
Right.
We're just fixing our mistake to make sure we didn't inadvertently capture the interior lots that aren't adjacent to environmentally sensitive areas.
Well, many moons ago, lots were subdivided out here, and that's the ones that you're talking about now. They're in the middle of the island, and they divided them 70 by 75. And so those lots are the ones you're talking about that are now being,
And we've caught them up in this regulation
Right.
intentionally, and we're trying to.
got it, okay,
Crystal clear that they're not.
got it, okay. Any other questions that anybody has on that issue? And that'll come back to us as well, once city council deals with whatever, okay.
September for a public hearing, but next Tuesday at the city council meeting, at the work session, we'll be discussing that at council. So if you are interested, let me know or follow along. And then go up to number 3, expansion of paid parking. We talked about this at city council last month in a work session.
Hey, Aaron, they're saying your voice is muffled. Can you move away from the camera a little bit?
Sorry. All right, now can you hear me?
That's what Stransky and Cal were coming.
Okay, sorry. Just got some feedback that no one can hear me. So last month at city council, we talked about a possible expansion of our paid parking areas. We went over a few different areas with city council, and that includes expanding paid parking on most of the side streets for 2 blocks back from the beach, and also on the beach side or the seaward side of Arctic and Ashley. Ashley from Third West down when it is the front beach, and from the washout down where it is the front beach, and then Arctic the rest of the way. City council sent us to do our homework. We've come back with a report. It's going to be presented to them next Tuesday. We'll gain about 450 additional paid parking spaces to be managed by the city, and it's going to be the side streets, 2 blocks back from the beach. Not all the side streets, but most of them. And then Arctic and Ashley on the seaward side of those streets. So on the left of West Ashley as you go down to the park, on the right of Arctic and Ashley as you go towards the left. So city council is going to be discussing that at the work session next Tuesday and voting on a resolution. So if you have any thoughts about expansion of paid parking, be sure to tune in to next Tuesday's meeting.
Aaron, quick question. Would there then be meters in the residential neighborhoods?
So it wouldn't be meters in the parking spaces, but yes, it would be pay at the box, pay by app, that sort of thing.
So a machine that would print the ticket would conceivably be located in the neighborhoods?
Yeah, it could, or it could just be pay by the app. They haven't defined exactly how each spot will be regulated. Some of them could be app only, but in theory, a paid parking machine could be on the shoulder of a side street, on every side street.
Wow.
Aaron, how many paid parking spots do we have now?
I do not know. I believe it's about 200-ish, but don't quote me on that.
So
No,
this would triple that?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the current number of paid parking spaces. I know we'll get 450 new ones, but I do not know the current number. I'll have that number ready for city council next Tuesday. And I'll email it out to you guys.
Aaron, what is the reason behind this? Who's pushing this?
So the 2015 comprehensive plan had 2 separate goals related to expanding paid parking. One was the general goal for city revenues to look at all fees, including parking fees and paid parking areas as income sources. And there was a second goal that explicitly stated expand paid parking areas and improve the right of way. And also the 2020 strategic plan the city council did back in January identified paid parking as one of the top strategic goals of the city, the expansion of paid parking. So those were kind of in the background of long-term planning documents. And then COVID hit, and we realized that maybe we need to look at all of our revenue streams, see where there's a potential to get more revenue, basically. And since paid parking had already been identified as a strategic goal of the city, we were tasked to look into it.
So what's this additional revenue going to be used for?
That's a good question. Right now, today, there's no specific approval. There's no specific allocation. But one of the things that came up at the work session was creating a dedicated funding stream. And the top idea was for pedestrian paths and improvements.
A dedicated what?
Funding stream, like that, using it as a dedicated funding stream for project X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And the top option was for pedestrian paths. It has not been formally, said and decided this money will only be used for this project, but that was discussed as a way to help sell the idea, I guess, to dedicate the funding to something that we needed, and pedestrian paths was the top option. Right now, we've got 2 pedestrian paths in the work for a grand total of about $800,000. So we know that they're expensive. We know that this could be a good revenue source for those kind of projects.
What about replenishing the A-tax that you lost for 3 months while you eliminated all short-term rentals?
Well, certainly the idea of replacing variable, really highly sensitive income streams with something more fixed is part of the strategy too. Parking probably will not be as volatile as A-tax. Even when people don't stay here, people still come here to go to the beach and they still need a place to park. So, just the general fiscal concept of a less changeable income stream is definitely something that's part of this too.
What about the property owners that have no off-street parking? And there are a few of those out here that are no off-street parking. What do we do with those people?
Those property owners meet our requirements for protected right-of-way parking. They can apply for and get a city parking sign that protects the right-of-way in front of their house.
Okay, so that would still be allowable.
Right.
Okay,
And anyone who already had one of those in place, that certainly wouldn't be supplanted by paid parking.
okay. So if they already have applied for it and received it and have that parking, okay.
And also, resident passes would work in those places too. So the residents, parking-wise, residents wouldn't be affected by it.
They could still go get their sticker or whatever and pay. Okay.
Right. That's good.
But residents would be affected if you had 250 paid parking spots. It's gonna drive some people more inland to park for free.
That's something that's been talked about. It could lead to island-wide paid parking. It could lead to some pair it with some no parking zones in the back of the island. We don't know the answer to that yet, but you're right. As more parking on the front beach becomes paid, there's a possibility that people will migrate away from those to find free parking.
DOT, are they on board with this?
We have to apply for and receive an encroachment permit for the DOT.
Okay.
We can't move forward with that until we get approval from council for the specific areas where they want to implement it. We have a list of the required shoulder improvements, and we have a list of the signage and where the signage would go. We've got that ready to send to DOT, but we're waiting for guidance from council on which areas they want to do it.
Got it, okay.
And
But
So,
it would be DOT that would have to do the final approval. Okay.
So basically, we're tripling our revenue from parking if we do this.
I'll find out the exact proportionate increase in parking. It would probably be at least doubling.
That seems like a lot to me, especially in this era when tax increases are verboten, more or less.
Well, we like to think of more of a user fee for non-residents than a tax.
Aaron, how about some of the right of ways now that are blocked by bushes and driveways and stuff like that? Is that going to be addressed?
In the additional paid parking areas, the right of way would be cleared to accommodate parking where possible. I don't have a space by space breakdown. So for example, one of the areas that could be an area for expansion is the seaward side of East Arctic. We know that there's some permanent encroachments like houses that can't be moved, and we know there's some spots that are grown up by bushes. I can't tell you if any one particular bush would be affected, but in general, the goal is that the shoulder would be cleared and improved enough to support parking.
Arctic is your challenge because Arctic is in there crooked and the houses were built before the road was built. So that's the challenge on Arctic Street.
Yeah, and when we say, every side street 2 blocks from the beach, it comes with the recognition that on some of them there are slopes where there won't be parking spaces, or on some of them there's an oak tree where there won't be parking spaces, or on East Arctic, there are houses where there won't be parking spaces. So it's not necessarily that entire strip will be, it's wherever the city can easily improve, mark, and manage parking space.
And where they're parking right now, they would now be paying to park there.
Right.
Got it.
So that's next Tuesday.
Okay, that's gonna come up before city council, and will that come back to us as well, or no?
Unless they specifically direct it, I think it'll just be done at city.
Got it, okay, be done at city council level, okay.
Aaron, there's also implications for visitors or guests of property owners. So I believe now you're entitled to 2 stickers. In that future state, we might also want to give consideration to maybe a couple of additional placards that a homeowner could give to their guest if they don't have adequate driveway parking space for their guests.
That's a good point. Because especially the front beach.
Coach, you could also do like downtown does and sell a booklet of parking passes. That's another revenue source. So maybe we'd be able to more than triple our revenue with no new increases in taxes, right?
That's the goal.
Aaron, just real quick, the little boxes that you get the tickets from, I think like putting them in the mid blocks so they're just not like too visible when you're driving down the road would be a good idea.
All right, I can forward that to our parking contractor.
And also if there's some way to minimize the signage that would speak to enforcement. I could imagine if there's too much of that, it might be an eyesore.
Yeah, signage is definitely a concern. There is a DOT minimum. I don't know what it is. Eric's more handling that, but there is a minimum amount of signage, and we definitely want to stick to that. We don't want to repeat what we've seen maybe in some of our other island communities where there's literally 7 signs on each block. We're aiming not to do that. But Eric's handling the signage. I can ask him to send you guys the plan.
Is that about it?
Any other questions on the parking? All right, the last thing, just briefly, I want to round us all back in the 2015 5-year update to our comprehensive plan. Thought we got off to a really great start. We were actually ahead of schedule, ahead of the curve. Then COVID hit, and now we've got about 5 working months to get this passed in order to get in under the deadline. I don't think we're going to make that, but I'd like to get as close as possible. Aiming for an early 2021 adoption of our 2020 comp plan update. Just very quickly, of the 9 elements we have updated and reviewed the drafts for 4 of them. We still have 5 more elements to review. That's transportation, natural resources, cultural resources, the priority investment element, and the housing element. So we've got 5 more sections of the body of the report to update. I've got a feeling that thanks to COVID, we're probably going to go back and look at some of the, especially the economic section, some of the sections we've already looked at. But so we've got 5 more elements to review. We did manage to get through a review of our needs and goals progress report, but we did not finish updating those needs and goals. We also have to get our survey out once the draft is finalized, hear from the public, and then we have to have a few public hearings on it. So hopefully, COVID notwithstanding, the next few months are going to see us do some heavy lifting on the comp plan. I'd really like to at least get the narrative wrapped up before December, and then maybe have January and February to get out our survey and update our needs and goals with our new goals. One good thing about the delay is it's probably going to push us into City Council's 2021 strategic planning session. in December or January, so we'll be able to incorporate that into our work and make sure that the 2021 strategic goals get put into our document. The Parks and Recreation 5-year plan is also up for an update this year, so we'll be able to capture that. Also, our local comprehensive beach management plan is updated this year, so I hope to capture some of that too. So, small silver lining is that we've got a few other big long-term plans that need to be updated, and we'll be able to work them in, but we do have a lot of work to do.
Is there any way that you could possibly send us your recommendations so that we could before we all sit down in an individual meeting and move it forward quicker?
Yes, sir, definitely. What I'll do is I will, when I get the next section of the narrative drafted, I'll send all the ones we've done already just for review, and I'll send out, I'll resend the updated goals. So that way everyone can refresh themselves on what changes we've approved to the document.
That's a good idea. Probably everything we've done.
Yeah.
Aaron, will we be doing the resilience plan, adding that?
Well, the last discussion we had here was the resilience option for the end. So it's gonna be drafted and ready to go, and then once we get to the end, the planning commission was gonna look and see if they felt like it was necessary to adopt it as a formal. Charleston County does a big favor of getting a good start on there. Easily be adapted upon needs.
Who was the person that wrote in that said she couldn't make tonight's meeting and it would be her last meeting?
Mr. Rouse?
Is that because her council person that appointed her has resigned from the council?
I believe her council appointed her for election. I do not remember which council person appointed her.
Teresa.
So Teresa appointed her, and Teresa's not running for reelection.
Right.
But I did let her know, and also the other guys who were appointed, you're welcome, please reapply. And hopefully you got an email from Kat that you'd like to stay on the board and your council person is not running for reelection. You can put your name in the hat as an application, and we forward those to the new council members. So if your term is up because of reelection, don't let that stop you from responding with that email, so Kat knows you're interested in continuing to serve.
He's talking about you, Randy.
How did the at-large spots get filled?
City council votes on them.
Okay, as a whole.
Yes, sir.
All right, Grant.
Are we ready?
You ready?
So move.
Get a second?
Come on, Greg.
Okay, we're off.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys for your patience. And just
That's
assume
my
you're-
legacy to this thing.